Hello and welcome to BERYL Elites. I'm Maxine Hoover with the BERYL Consulting Group. You've argued the alternative data industry is moving away from polished analytics back to raw data. Why is that happening now, and who benefits more from the shift, buyers or vendors?
I think this is very, very interesting space, right? And it's correct. It's one of the things that I like to talk about a lot because I think with the emergence of generative AI and all these large language models, it has opened up for a different approach to textual content, right? We have seen a lot of our clients getting greater appetites for unstructured data because it has become easier to work with. It doesn't mean that there isn't a lot of work that a vendor can do here, right? So, and especially in our case, we are a vendor, right? So we are moving away, or not away, but we're expanding our offering from sort of process and data into technology and infrastructure, and then having data as part of that. And there's a lot of layers that we are handling, like knowledge graphs and entity resolution, so enriching content that makes it easier for people to consume. But there's still a lot of layers that before were handled by vendors, like how do you create sentiment signals? What event taxonomies should you be applying? What information exactly should be extracting? That part has become easier. And I think my argument here is that a lot of this work will now start to move closer to the use case, right? Such that you can, with a large language model, you can start to build your own taxonomies. You can start to build your own view of the world more easily through prompting even, right? So it's a way of injecting your domain expertise, your view of the world on top of the data, and then you structure content on the fly, addressing smaller use cases. And just to give one example, right? It may be, how does Trump's trade wars with China impact US companies? It may be that there isn't a data set that out of the box can capture that, but you can sort of build the data set on the fly and structure content on the fly using a large language models by saying, what are the different transition channels that can impact a US company if Trump and the US applies tariffs? Then you can start to say, well, it could be market access risk, it could be supply chain risk, it can be, so it sort of maps out that whole context, and that helps you having access to a search and retrieval system and content. You can start to organize your searches, pull the content in you need, use a large language model for verification levels and layers, and then ultimately you have a structured data sets of saying, yes, exposed, not exposed. That sort of gives you what I like to call micro data sets that are produced much closer to the use case. And I think it's becoming cheaper to do that and easier to do it. So I think a lot of who's the winners and the losers. I think instead of speaking about losers, it's more about opportunities. And I think, we all have to evolve. And this is really where we are going as well. How can RavenPack become a partner in this process, in delivering sort of the table stakes in some sense for being able to do these type of workflows, and then let the client sort of also beyond quant, which they've always been building the data, some data sets themselves, but also making it easier for more discretionary users to do that through prompt engineering and so on, right? So I think it's more of an opportunity, but I think ultimately, the winners on the buy side, on the closer to the use case, you get something that really fits your use case much better. So there's definitely a clear winning case on the client side.